How you guys doing? I was watching the Table Monkeys talk about hill theory and counters, soft, hard. Remind me of a video we did like 15 years ago, and I realized that I probably updated a little bit. I'm just digesting my supper. I'm gonna hit it in a minute. So long ago, came up with the hill theory. High hook at the top, inside moves, outside moves. And we talked about the components of arm wrestling. We talked about soft counters, hard counters. So there's been a few things that have changed since we came up with this idea. I think the first thing is people arm wrestle way more now, and there's less opportunity to um, to straightforward counter people quite as easily. And I think that the hill has changed a lot just because straps is way more part of the game now than it ever was. And straps has kind of changed what moves really make a whole lot of sense technically, in my opinion. And keeping in mind, we all have our own biases, and everyone's got different strengths and different gifts. And not everybody arm wrestles the same way. But there is a technical flow that does seem to work for most people in response to a certain athlete. So, one of the important things to think about when understanding hill theory. Basically, think about hill theory as the game King of the Hill that a lot of Canadian kids play, and I'm sure people play all over the world. Basically, we have big hills of snow, and the game is to get on top of the hill and stay there. And when people come close to you, you push them down the hill. That's a great game. Uh, and it's a lot like arm wrestling theory in that what is so valuable is the high hook. And what is the high hook? The high hook is controlling the top of the arm wrestling game, where you basically force the other person to make an adjustment. Anybody who's able to arm wrestle and keep their hand up high and then start to initiate a bend without losing their pronation, that is a very, and if they can keep their elbow inside their body, if they're a good arm wrestler, the other person is definitely in a massive amount of trouble. That speaks to the first rule of arm wrestling: be strong. To do this move, you have to be very strong. You have to be stronger than the other person in this move. What is the strength that's required? Rising, cupping, rolling, and supination, stability. That's keeping the elbow arm inside the body. Is there more strength required in arm wrestling? For sure there are. But I wouldn't spend a ton of time doing them. I really wouldn't. People talk about grip, side pressure, kickback, down, whatever. Yeah, it's all there. But if you can establish a high hook on someone, none of that stuff is going to work so well if you know how to arm wrestle properly because of the hill theory. What makes the hill theory so powerful is that the assumption that's made in arm wrestling theory is that you need to be able to cross the center line in arm wrestling to really do a good job. And what the center line is and what it means is the division between inside and inside movements and outside movements. And the theory is that it's kind of controlled by this high hook position if the strength is at all close. Obviously, if someone's stronger, none of this matters. And you can be strong in a lot of different ways. And a lot of these things will trump the high hook. And There are styles which, if you're not strong in them, they can screw you over. There's a rule called intimacy, which hopefully I'll get to here, that will further explain the hill theory. But back to inside and outside arm wrestling. This is basically the shoulder moving forward or the shoulder moving back. Outside arm wrestling is basically all top rolling styles, from high top roll, low top roll, uh, top rolling with shoulder commitment, exploding hand technique, uh, king's move, open top roll, anything that's really attacking the fingers and where your shoulder is kind of moving away from your opponent. Inside theory, all your presses, all your kind of hooks, flops, where the shoulder is coming forward. Now, you are really, really efficient in arm wrestling when you have the ability, when the match is stopped, to move your shoulder forward or back and remain in control of the match. When your opponent is stuck continuing to run or continuing to have to drive further and further in and not have an option to switch from pulling to pushing. This is kind of the power position in arm wrestling, and it's why the high hook, it's why the high position is theorized to be so important. The high hook itself is a combination of a regrip. So it's basically the highest spot you can possibly get to. So it's a combination of posting, kicking back, supination, with upwards drive, and even sometimes to the outside. It's to get as far away from somebody as you possibly can be. It's regripping. It's to make the skin slip. It's about making your thumb big and slide up your opponent's hand. And from that position, straight down, straight down. That's the high hook. So a soft counter. A soft counter, well, let me get back. So the way people arm wrestle is they fight for that spot. Rule number 1, be strong. Rule number 2 is never fight a losing battle. So you're going to be weaker. You will be. So when you're weaker, you have to run. You have to run to the inside or run to the outside. And people generally think of um, outside arm wrestling as running, but both styles are running. Floppers pressing is a defensive position. Defensive hooking is a defensive position. Anything outside of this central, high up posted, fundamental Andre Pushkar type of move is running. It's just which way are you going? Inside or outside? Don't fight a losing battle. So basically what it means is you have to give someone something to try and secure the match somewhere. You have to have some kind of an anchor. Two quick examples. On the inside, why don't we go with defensive hooking? So defensive hooking, you're kind of gonna use your bicep and your cup a lot. You're gonna give away your pronation to try and stick that wrist angle. You're gonna hope that the person takes what you give them. You give something. You don't fight a losing battle. That means you don't keep fighting in all the fundamentals. You give something and you go somewhere else hard. So you give away your pronation, for example, and you go all in on your cup, hope they land on your bicep, give away pronation, soft counter. Same thing on the inside. If you wanted to secure your shoulder angle a bit more and not have it on your bicep, you could give away your cup. You could give away your cup and keep driving with the press. Hopefully they take too much pronation and you get on that arm. Soft counter, give away cup, secure shoulder position. There's many more examples of a soft counter. Basically any defensive move has some kind of a soft counter to it. King's move, give away cup, give away shoulder position to secure pronation and drag. Rule number 3 to arm wrestling. is don't take what's being given to you. Charity. Go the opposite direction. You have to learn to give things away. Response to the defensive hook. Defensive hook, people are giving pronation. If you follow rule 3 and don't take what's being given to you, most people would think to take that pronation softness, but you should actually think about kicking back. And it's the same thing with a flop wrist press. Most people would think to pronate through that softness of the wrist, but you must supinate. Anyways, so that's kind of soft counter, hard counter, components, um, hill theory, little update on all of it. Has the game changed? A little bit. It's straps. It's straps for sure. That's the big difference. Um, I really feel like now it's hooking has fallen a lot. It's fallen, in my opinion. Probably I'm biased because of my own abilities, but I feel like pressing is higher up on the spectrum than hooking is now. I feel like when you go from a high hook, you fall immediately into pressing. I feel like hooking is actually a lower form. It's a fallout from pressing. You should fall from a press into a hook. Shoulder commitment is the vital ground of inside arm wrestling. Anyways, I should be training. I don't know what I'm doing. Hope you guys are doing good. I think we're going to start kicking things off here pretty soon. Stay strong, everybody.